Hello and welcome to Gameweek 16 of the Premium Player FPL podcast. We've had a couple of weeks break. Yours truly's been in Mexico, so sorry for not joining you for the loyal fans out there. In our time off, not much has happened with my rank. I don't know about yourself, Mindy. It's been very much a steady rank, but looking forward to being back now for the Christmas fixtures. I think there's about 6 game weeks in about 21 days, which is crazy. So yeah, hoping for a nice little rise over this period, and this period will be critical to how our seasons kind of develop. If you've not already liked and subscribed, please do on YouTube or the podcast platform that you're watching. And the deadline this week, I think it's Saturday morning, so 11 a.m. deadline. So make sure you get your team sorted before then.
I was just stunned into silence there. You got the deadline wrong, I think.
Is it Friday?
It's Friday deadline, yeah. I mentioned that to you yesterday as well, because I was like, we're going to have to do a quick turnaround tonight ahead of the Friday deadline.
Fucking hell, my head's gone. Apologies. Sorry if you listen to this for the first time. Good job, you're on track, innit? Brentford and Watford for the Friday game. I just presume because there's European competition, it's normally a Saturday, isn't it? But yeah, interesting.
No, it's nice to know that you read my messages. I appreciate that.
One in through one ear, out the other.
What was I going to say?
I was just trying to trick people, especially my brother who's racing away. So yeah.
No, yeah, my rank's been on holiday while you've been on holiday. My rank gains I'm just plateaued. We'll talk more about that in the review, in the game week review, though, won't we? What else is there to chat about this week? What was the thinking not taking your big holiday in the international break? You need to be synchronizing your travel and your leisure with the international calendar.
Yeah, should be.
You work,
as my girlfriend says. But yeah, I booked this holiday before I work for a football club, so yeah, I won't be doing that again.
Yeah, it's a hard one to avoid sometimes, especially at the moment when there's so many deadlines. It's impossible to release something for every deadline. But yeah, we'll try our best over Christmas and New Year to keep stuff going. And we get a lot of people asking us what they should do with their teams on Twitter and the DMs. So feel free to drop us a message. And if you're not on social media, we're on Twitter at @premium_FPL on the same handle, on Instagram. And yeah, just to clarify, seeing as Callum fucked up, the deadline is Friday.
I had one job.
the first time we've split that. So I think from now on, seeing as it's quite important, I'll tell people when the deadline is.
All right, I'd get more than one chance, surely.
You can do the less useful stuff, like getting people to comment and like. Shall we get cracking?
Yeah, let's do it. So this is the running order. Do you want to go through it, or?
Yeah, sure. So we're back on a COVID footing. It seems it's like a flashback to the worst pandemic, games potentially being called off and all that stuff. Thought it was a bit of a freak incident for Spurs when the game got called off for snow, and like people who had Spurs players, that seemed like the worst of the luck over with. But no, there's more bad luck for Spurs. So we'll look at that and what it means for other teams, and do we have to adjust our team planning, etc. King and Dennis, Watford's fixtures are good now, and lots of people need a budget forward for affording Ronaldo and City mids, etc. So a lot of talk about those two in the community. And then just as people like me have got to big at the back's maybe dead, which is really good. Chelsea's form's taken a bit of a knock. They're conceding goals, which they didn't look to be doing earlier
3 in
on.
Russia last night, and they played a pretty strong team. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, so we'll have a look at that, and then also at the same time, just look at, is it time to move more into midfield? And then, as we're both United and City fans, we'll look at best options from those teams. A lot of talk about both those clubs at the moment, especially with new manager at Man United and a certain Bernardo ripping things up at City. And then the classic premium planning segment. So yeah, there's a lot to get through, so we'll have to speed through some sections probably. But yeah, let's get going.
Yeah, packed. Looking forward to it. It's the first topic there, as you see. It's Spurs. This is not. It's all going wrong tonight. Oh, fucking hell. We'll run through our teams first. Sorry.
Who got the highest score this week?
So you did with 51 points. You got
51, right? Yeah, it was a bit of a nothing week again. What were the highlights for me?
Mason Mount, the guy that you've been trying to get out all season.
I've not been.
The flukiest.
To be fair, the one person I've been trying to get him out for is Bernardo.
Every game week you say, "Oh, I'm trying to get him out," and
the person I've been trying to get in is Bernardo. So, I mean, I probably would rather actually have Bernardo, but it's a tricky one, that isn't it? So yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Are you going to tease taking him out again, and then he's going to get 2 goals?
Well, it's. I think Bernardo's more nailed on than Mount, but we're jumping to the end here with what our transfers might be. But yeah, I'm not itching to get Mount out.
I'm just trolling you.
It's just he's like the opposite of last season, isn't he, Mount? Because last season he played all the time and drip fed points, like a consistent assist here and there and all that from corners and set pieces. Whereas now he doesn't start that off as much, but when he does start, he gets the haul. So it's like a complete role reversal from last season, which makes it quite hard to gauge. But yeah, that was Mount. Kane was so annoying, especially with Son banging. Like it was a 50-50 call that's just gone completely wrong, that one.
I'm glad Kane's trolled both of us this season because I had him early on, didn't I? And he blanked those 2 games as well. That's why I didn't go there again.
Yeah, and it's a bit similar to people who went Gundogan over Bernardo. Like, yeah, stats are actually better for Gundogan, but yeah, Bernardo's the one that's actually proving the points on the pitch. So a couple of 50-50 calls that have hurt people this week. Although you could argue that maybe like from the eye test, Son was the better one to go for because yeah, Kane's not been looking. It's just not looked great in the Premier League all season, really. So maybe that's a win for the eye test managers. But I think the fact that Son and like people like Ben Davis and some of the other Spurs defenders have done well over that run, like it was the right call to kind of look at Spurs for those fixtures. Just not the right one with Kane. Yeah, we mentioned the Chelsea defence not doing well. That's hurt me. I doubled up this week. My transfer was Alonso in, so I think I'm going to give that a little while, especially with the fixtures Chelsea have come in. But yeah, it's not a great start to double Chelsea. I think the rest of the team's quite template. So I'll just quickly touch on my rank. So it was a green arrow, but 10k places. So I've gone from 184 to 173k, but I was ranked 125 in game week 10, so I'm just sort of moving up and down slightly without really doing anything for like the past months. So I really need a decent Christmas and New Year. It just tends to be a good time to pick up rank over Christmas and New Year because you get lots of people missing deadlines, getting drunk and missing the deadline on Boxing Day and all that stuff. So yeah, hopefully Christmas and New Year separates us nerds from the rest of them.
I just knew that word was coming. I'll move on to my team, although presentation doesn't want to play ball tonight.
Tools are still on holiday. They're still in Mexico, mate.
I don't know what's going on there. I hope I don't have to escape and click on it every time. Anyway, so I got 47 points. Small rank decreased to 495. So yeah, still trembling around the 500,000 mark. It's quite templated now, like yourself. Ramsdale, Cancelo, James, Livramento coming in. Trent doing the business. Everyone has him. Then Gundogan, who I went for over Bernardo 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I got a bit on the wrong side of the coin there.
You're the City correspondent. If anyone should get the City player right, but you work for the club, you should be.
Yeah, I know. And looking at the past few games, Gundogan still gets in the best positions, I think. But Bernardo's just on a roll. And you remember last year when Gundogan got on a roll, and people who didn't go with him, they kind of fell away, didn't they? So maybe Bernardo just keeps going. But I do think in terms of like position, Gundogan does get himself in better positions. That's why I went for him. But yeah, when Bernardo's in the form of his life and the goals he's scoring, a bit like Salah at the moment, and he's scoring from anywhere. So that kind of you got to have that in the back of your head. Not only stats, like obviously talk about the eye test and stuff, just basically the form and the players that they're feeling they can get a goal out of them, can't they?
Well, let's not ruin the City section. Well, I interjected there and ruined your flow. Sorry.
That's right. Other than that, Rafinha, who's now got a tricky set of fixtures, obviously last minute assist, and then Antonio and Vardy, who is already out the exit door, but I won't spoil it too much. You probably guess who's coming in.
A little teaser there.
Yeah, so we'll move on to obviously the Tottenham news. Conte was quite emotional in his press conference, wasn't he, saying that these players have got families and they're being forced to come in every day and train and touch each other, and they just know that one man's going down every day. I think they were forced to train. Was it this morning or yesterday morning? And someone actually tested positive after the session. So, yeah, pretty bonkers as to what we would put up against. The game's now been cancelled. The game against Rennes that should have been going on to this evening in the Conference League. That actually went against rules. I think that's the first time since they've implemented these new rules, European competition, they've actually forced teams to play. So this probably shows the severity of it. And if I was to put odds on this weekend being ahead, it probably wouldn't be too much in your favour of the odd game being ahead. So yeah, interesting one. If you've got Spurs players, I'd probably look to get out my most expensive ones and go from there.
Yeah, I think they're an easy sell now. Like, it's a tricky one for people who have Son, because you'd kind of want to hold Son, wouldn't you? But I think he's rumoured to be one of the ones who actually has COVID. So I think basically all the Spurs, I don't think there's an argument really to keep any of them.
No, maybe if you've got a cheap defender. I've got Emerson Royal, and I just wanted to invest in my strikers this week, so you probably won't come out. But yeah, if you've got Son or Kane, that's a lot of money, isn't it? Tied up in your bench. So yeah. Unfortunately, hope everyone gets well soon. There, obviously not a nice situation.
Yeah. So, do you think there's anything we take from this, like, for how we plan for the rest of the teams? Like, because you remember last year we were talking about not having 3 players from one team in case stuff like this happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, say for example, if a Liverpool game was called off, we'd all be fucked, wouldn't we? So
yeah, it's probably the one team, isn't it? But then I think everyone's in that. Liverpool's probably not the best example because everyone's got Liverpool. Maybe it's a case of if West Ham and you had a double West Ham, or if City game got called off because triple City, not many people have it.
But a lot of people are looking to double up on City midfield. And people have Cancelo. So a lot of people will have 3 City, I reckon. And yeah, this Omicron thing, it's. I wonder if that's the variant that's driving this in London for Tottenham. So yeah, I don't know. It's made things a bit tricky. I don't think we have to make any like knee-jerk decisions now, but something to think about, I think, for the rest of the season. Like, the other thing is like not setting your captain and your vice captain from the same team just in case as well, because you could easily end up with no captain that way if that game gets called off.
And I suppose Christmas is the worst time for it to happen because it's like it's free. They could potentially miss 3 fixtures, couldn't they? So yeah, or maybe not Spurs, but when the congestion really ramps up over Boxing Day, New Year, potentially missing 3 game weeks if a team gets fully affected.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the fact I didn't realize how there's quite a lot of players that still aren't vaccinated, which doesn't help. But yeah, that's another issue. But yeah, I know they've struggled like in Germany as well, and I mean, players like Joshua Kimmich are having like real problems getting back to fitness because their COVID implications were quite serious because they weren't vaccinated. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we have any of those problems here. Hopefully everyone's recovers promptly here, and not the similar problems that Munich are having. Anything else to mention here?
No, I think that's everything. Yeah, sell, especially Son and Kane, and then if you defense and you don't have Son and Kane, then yeah, sell as many as you can. Really.
And if you're not vaccinated, the premium player boys endorse vaccination. We can say that, can't we?
Stepping into dangerous territory there. We'll get some anti-vaxxers coming on. This next screenshot for the podcast listeners is so King or Dennis is going to be a popular transfer for people this week just because of being either funding the big man Ronaldo up top, or strikers are not doing too great, so maybe downgrading and investing in midfield. So this is a stat from the FPL Wire podcast that kind of puts it into context. King v Dennis. Obviously, Dennis is getting all the goals at the moment, well, the majority of the goals at the moment, but in terms of the stats, King is 0.7 XG per game, whereas Dennis is only 0.2. King's obviously on penalties now as well with Sarr out. And just, every stat he's beating him other than XG Delta, which is, are they outperforming their XG? And King is matching his, whereas Dennis is obviously overperforming it by almost half. Is there anything you want to add on this? And are you making a transfer to one of these two this week?
I'm not sure yet. I think if I was going to go for one, it'd be King, though, for the reasons you mentioned. I think the other thing to factor in with Dennis is AFCON. Like, he's on the provisional shortlist now for Nigeria. So there's 40 people on that shortlist, so it's a big shortlist. But you'd think...
But you just have to live in Nigeria to be on the shortlist. 40?
Yeah. You'd think with his form that he's got a good chance of being considered to go to AFCON now, especially now that Victor Osimhen, the main striker from Napoli's injured or having injury problems. I think he's considering playing with a mask or something. I don't know if that'll be. I don't know if he'll be cleared to play in time with a mask in time for AFCON. So there was talk of Dennis not being in the squad at all because he fell out with the coach, but I wonder if that's being reconsidered now. So yeah, I think the stats.
I think if he's got the incentive of playing, then that'll probably help, won't it? As opposed to being on the bench for Nigeria.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe. So yeah, I think for me it's quite a clear, easy decision to go for King over Dennis. Especially you got pens for King as well. The stats are better. He's not going to be going to AFCON. The only thing you'd say is that if Dennis goes to AFCON and Sarr's at AFCON, who's going to be creating the chances at Watford? But that's at his price, you can afford to bench him if your team's good enough, King. So yeah, in the easy fixtures, you wouldn't mind playing him as well, even with the main chance creators not there. Watford just look like they're not caring about they know they can't defend, so they're just thinking, fuck it, we're gonna have a go. I guess what you'd say is maybe they'll reconsider that when Sarr and Dennis aren't there. Maybe they'll have to adjust, but it's hard to predict that. I think going for King now seems like a reasonable move, apart from the worries about people not creating chances for him when the main creators go to AFCON. That's the only thing I'd worry about, but at his price, it's not too big a gamble.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. We did some stats on him the week before City, wasn't he? And he was top of all XG over the last 4 game weeks for strikers. The City game might have changed that a little, but as their fixtures start to get a little better. And as you say, Watford like to fight fire with fire in some games, don't they? They're either going to get beat 5-2 or win 4-3. I don't think their games are going to be like 1-0, 0-0. So it's always good to have a striker from one of them teams.
Yeah, I'm seeing goals in Watford Brentford this Friday. Brentford's expected goals conceded's gone through the floor. Like, they were quite tight at the beginning, but not anymore. I think the keeper's giving them some issues.
Yeah, best defender as well, isn't it? Is it Aya or someone? He's injured.
Yeah, so depending on what the odds are, could be a decent little both teams to score play that tomorrow night. I'll look at that. It's good.
Yeah, we're a betting podcast now, not just FPL.
Anything else to say on these two? Are there any other budget forwards that you'd consider?
I mean, these are obviously standout. You got Brozier, who's a bit cheaper, who I probably wouldn't like. King, I'd bring into play each week, whereas Brozier, he'd probably be my first sub and then play when needed. I think that's probably the difference here. In terms of anyone else, Bamford's come back, hasn't he? Scored at the weekend, but Leeds' fixtures now are ridiculously hard. I think they've got to play. Is it Chelsea, United, City, and Liverpool next 4? Something mental. Obviously, Tony's got COVID. The options around him are few and far between, aren't they? I think that's why everyone's kept Antonio for so long.
Yeah, no, exactly. Would if you got rid of Antonio, would you now maybe get him back for his run, or would you just leave that for now?
If we didn't have a West Ham player, then yeah. If we've already got Bowen or someone else, might differ it a bit. But yeah, I think these fixtures now. We'll move on to fixtures later, won't we? But yeah, I just think there's not too many other attackers around, and a lot of people still going to have Antonio. So if he does bang, then you're on to a loser, right?
Sweet. No, yeah. Let's move on.
If I can, that's a question.
It's like a metaphor for you trying to improve your rank each week. This trying to move slide is like you trying to move up in the ranks. It's like massive. It's a massive fuck about. Like,
hey, up until 2 weeks ago, I think I was only 20 points behind, but yeah, you seem to have split again. But yeah, this is again from FPL Wire. Obviously, a great podcast. This is around Jared Bowen, who obviously West Ham's fixtures coming up. I think is it third in the ticker or maybe second. And obviously Bowen's getting a lot of limelight. He didn't play against City for tactical reasons, but obviously come back Chelsea with a bang. And now his expected goal involvement in the last 6 game weeks, he's 4th amongst midfielders. In the last 12, he's 5th. And then overall, he's 4th. Obviously, that's going to be behind Jota, Salah. I think the other one might be Mane as well. Obviously, the Liverpool boys just head and shoulders above anyone else. But he's the next best option, which when you look at West Ham's fixtures coming up at 6.5 years now, like obviously a great option in among the City options as well. But yeah, Bowen's right up there, isn't he?
Yeah, to have these positions in the stats tables and to be getting this number of shots and stuff in that difficult fixture run, you know, it kind of makes you wonder where he's going to be, what his point's going to be after the easy run. Because I think he had the most shots in the game against Chelsea at the weekend, and he just looks to be the one that the shot chances are falling to. Like there was a great chance he had in that Chelsea game where Antonio was doing the run in and put a cross in, and he just didn't quite get there in time. So the chances that we fall into him at the moment, which is what would sway me. I think if I was picking between one of them, I'd go for Bowen now. Would you over Antonio? He's a bit cheaper as well.
The only thing would be what we said about Tony when Brentford had the difficult games. Like when they get the easier fixtures, will Antonio move back higher up the field and Bowen move out wide? That's the only thing that would go against it, whether they switch the setup against the easier teams, potentially. But when he's playing so well, then yeah, you've got to go with the form at the moment.
Yeah. I already have Antonio, but if I didn't, I think I'd just get Bowen and not worry about Antonio. And then maybe I can go for like Ronaldo and King up front. But yeah, I've got Antonio, so it feels silly for me to move Antonio on now that I've got him. So yeah, it for me it's whether I'd double up. Not have to see the next 2 for Bowen for West Ham are like Burnley and Arsenal. So I might wait till after those 2 fixtures to get the double up. The other thing with Bowen is that, you know, if Antonio gets a rest over Christmas, which he's probably going to need, he's the most likely to sort of move up top. Like when Antonio's not played in the past, it's been Bowen who's gone into like the false 9 or whatever. So another string to his bow in that sense. And he's just had his...
Did you mean that?
No. I realised after I'd said it how that sounded. Not one for the cringe puns, but yeah. That one was unfortunate.
Maybe it just falls naturally.
What was I going to say? Yeah, being cringe comes naturally. Lost my train of thought now. Yeah, basically,
Sorry.
but Bowen over Christmas should be good. I think he's more likely to get more minutes over this run. I do worry about Antonio having to be managed quite carefully over the Christmas run.
Yeah, no, fair enough. He's a great option. I think what makes the transfer easier for a lot of people is he's the same price as Rafinha, isn't he? I know you don't have him, I do, but yeah, that will probably be where the majority of transfers are coming from. I'd suggest anyway. That's where I'd feel.
Good point.
It'd be annoying if I have to do this every time. Who's gone on holiday? Moving on to the City v United. So I'll talk about City. So this is from the Fantasy Football Scout. As you can see there, those who have brought in Gundogan over the last 6 game weeks. This is because Bernardo's obviously played all 6. Bernardo and Rodri, the only people. Only players to have played all 6, but Gundogan there has played 4 of them. And in those games, his expected goal involvement has been 2.74. Sterling 2.55, who's actually looked a lot better recently as well, Sterling. Obviously a bit more money at 10.6, so kind of put off going there when you obviously got Liverpool players and potentially a premium striker. So that's probably the only reason he's out of the equation. And then you've got Bernardo Foden, who picked up another knock midweek. So that probably, if I didn't have Foden this week, that would probably put it against him for me. I think it'd probably be between Bernardo and Gundogan. But I'd probably go with the form now, just the way he's playing. Despite these numbers, sometimes you just got to go with how players are playing. Obviously, got Mahrez and Grealish below that, and Kevin De Bruyne, who's back as well. But with Sterling at 11.8 million, when you think these lads, Gundogan, Silva, Foden, almost 3/4 of the price of them. So yeah, interesting that Gundogan was ahead, top of them all.
Yeah, I think the other thing. Did you touch on minutes there? I think the fact that Bernardo's he's the him and Cancelo first on the team sheet, aren't they?
Yeah, him, Rodri, and Cancelo. Yeah.
So I think you have to sort of apply that to the stats as well. Just the fact that with Christmas coming, you'd just be most confident of Bernardo getting more minutes. The way that Pep's been talking about him in the press and everything as well. So, yeah, if I was to pick one, it'd be Bernardo, I think, still, despite the stats.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. I just think, because I've got Gundogan, do I want to not waste a transfer, but do I want to make that sideways move? Maybe I do that next week if Bernardo might be too late by then, but yeah.
Do you think the double up's viable? 2 City midfielders?
Definitely. I think if Chelsea put up another subpar performance at the weekend, you can kind of move away from 4 at the back, couldn't you, and play 3-4-3 potentially, or 3-5-2. That could be a way to do it. I do think over Christmas, like Gundogan, Silva, they might get the odd drop here and there, but in most game weeks in the season, like other teams, they don't have the fixture congestion as City do. So over Christmas, they'll probably play the same as other players who you'd say more nailed on in the smaller teams. So I don't think minutes is an issue over Christmas for City players.
Yeah, it's always annoying, isn't it, when you're looking forward to seeing your City asset in a game and they're not on the pitch. But I think the thing that you've got to think about is that other players that are nailed on don't get the same amount of chances either. Watching the start of that City versus Watford game, there was just chances dropping left, right, and centre to players. There'll be some explosions you might miss out on if you just avoid a City player for the fear of rotation. I
think you've definitely got to go 1 with the form that City are in the Premier League. Maybe not after Tuesday night, but yeah, with the form that they're in the fixtures, you've definitely got to go 1. The argument's just 2.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's just the gamble of getting the right one, isn't it? That's what makes it tricky. Like for a lot of people, they might be thinking, well, I don't have the same worries with Bowen, Jota, Salah. People might still be be dubious about it. But I think that's the good thing about Bernardo. Like although Pep can, throw a wobbler at any time and just chuck someone out of the team like he did with he's done with Mahrez before. I think we're in a better position than that with Bernardo. He seems to because Bernardo contributes so much attacking wise and defense. Like his distance covered most games is the highest as well. Like he brings so much to the team that I can't see Pep falling out with him. So yeah.
Yeah,
if you
fair enough.
If you go in one, Bernardo, like the reliability of the minutes from what we've seen so far would tip me towards Bernardo. But if you go in two, then you can maybe go for an explosive one like Foden or something. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
It's definitely those three, isn't it, at the moment? I think it would have to take a lot for Kev or Sterling to kind of enter the equation just because of the value, I'd say.
Yeah, I can't see how I'd fit one of those in if I wanted to. So yeah, they're not in the conversation for me.
Sweet. Work, is it? Great. We'll move on to United now. So you can talk about. So this is from TED Talks, and obviously the re-emergence of Ronaldo. He's done a lot better the past few weeks, hasn't he?
Yeah, so it's going to be obviously a massively popular move. CR7 for Christmas. I think I put that as the thing for the title. Did you did you not like it? The title for the pod?
No, I did like it, but I just wanted to advertise that we back after.
I was editorially overruled. What was like? No, Ronaldo for Christmas does look good, especially people coming off Kane. It's such an easy transfer, Kane to Ronaldo. I thought, I was going to maybe outline the case not to go for him, just because I think it's quite clear why you would want him. But to play devil's advocate, I thought maybe I'd go for that. So with the fixtures coming up and the fact that he is 37, he's going to be 37 soon. Despite being an elite athlete and toned to fuck, he is going to have to come off early in some games, and I can't see him starting everyone. If United go 2-0 up in a game, you think that he'd be looking to take him off once he thinks games are sewn up. The potential for him to absolutely hammer 3 or 4 goals in a game sort of diminishes. I think with that in the back of my mind, maybe with can he start 2 games in 3 days? I don't think he will. The way Solskjaer was having to manage him showed that. So yeah, and then that's a slight concern. But then the fact that we don't have to captain him maybe takes that away. But it's something to think about. And then the other main reason maybe not to go for him is just depending on when Salah goes off to AFCON. I can't really see that many weeks where we'd even want to captain him, if any. Once Salah goes to AFCON, with the dates we currently have, I think United's fixtures are West Ham and Wolves. So those aren't standout games for captaining a player. Wolves aren't getting slapped by anyone at the moment. Only lost 1-0 to Liverpool. A lot of their games tend to be 1-0, either to them or to the other team. And West Ham are, they've beaten Liverpool, beaten Chelsea. I'm not sure I'd want to captain Ronaldo against West Ham. So it brings us on to the thing of, is it worth having a 12.4 million player if you're never going to captain them? What's your thoughts on that?
No, it's an interesting argument that you present. Obviously, I've been swayed by Ronaldo before and likely to be swayed again. I do think the difference between, in the first couple of games I've seen, or one game, I think he did have some kind of impact in the other game as well, Rangnick. But especially in the game that saw at the weekend, the big criticism of Ronaldo is the pressing and stuff like that. But the way Rangnick set up his team at the weekend, Ronaldo wasn't doing the pressing. He almost used Rashford as that kind of foil, really, didn't he, to do all the defensive kind of work and the 3 players in and around him. So I do think he'll be a lot more clever with Ronaldo as opposed to Ollie just saying, "Go out, play and enjoy yourselves, lads." I do think you've actually got a tactician there now, and I think he'd be a lot more clever around how he uses Ronaldo. In that he'll just want him in the right position to score goals, and he knows he's got the best goal scorer. Well, in my opinion, probably the best goal scorer in the world. Like, there's no argument around Ronaldo getting the clutch goals at the right time. It's just the kind of he's playing and around it. So I do think if he's clever with him, especially in the tight games where it's 0-0, 1-1, like he's going to stay on, isn't he? He's not going to bring him off because the crowd will be on his back. So yeah, I do think with those fixtures coming up, and obviously there was a good feeling around the place after the game at the weekend. Obviously the midweek game was a bit irrelevant. I just think with those fixtures, you just got to play those fixtures, and he's the best United asset. I'd say still. Although Diogo Dalot's entering my thinking, but we'll digress from there.
No, yeah. So in terms of the other United players, it's a shame that none of the midfielders are really standing out. Like in all the stats tables,
it's just the price again, isn't it? If Sancho was priced like a City Bernardo, then you would be tempted to go there. It's just that he's a bit more.
I still don't even think I would. His shot numbers and stuff still aren't that great.
Yeah.
Like I think if Sancho was the same price as Bernardo, I'd still go Bernardo.
Yeah, but it would only take one or two good games, wasn't it, to kind of people move towards.
Yeah, I think it is a shame that none of the midfielders are currently looking like being an option. But I think we were messaging about this before. Dalot could be a great defensive option, especially if you wanted to come off big at the back and you wanted to go down. Because talking about Rangnick being a tactician and the way he wants to play, Wan-Bissaka just doesn't really fit it, I don't think. Like, the emphasis seems to be on passing the ball forward, transition, always looking forward, don't pass back. And that is usually what Wan-Bissaka does when he gets the ball on the wing. He'll go for an easy sideways pass or maybe pass back to Lindelof. Which is, you mentioned the fact that Ronaldo claps Dalot whenever he pumps the ball into the box.
Yeah, I was just watching the weekend. Yeah, maybe
he's had half a season of watching Wan-Bissaka get the ball, and even if he can cross it, not crossing it. So it's like it's probably a new thing for Ronaldo. It's like having someone who will actually put the ball in for him from that side. He's just relishing it, I think. But yeah, the fact that I think you had a different way of describing the relationship between Dalot and Ronaldo.
His little brother.
We'll leave that one for off air. I do think it's one to monitor. I wouldn't go for him now because it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. But if
just the price, isn't it? And those fixtures from United from now till for 8 games, just really good.
If he gets another game, I think if he gets another game or two, and Wan-Bissaka keeps playing in the fact that Wan-Bissaka was in the team last night with the kids and the less preferred players, kind of makes you think that the pecking order's shifted. But you'd want to see a bit more of that, I think, first before going for Dalot.
I suppose all it takes is a poor performance, doesn't it?
The other thing to mention there is that now that Southampton are struggling for the keepers, like they've had to bring Willy Caballero in. Livermento's not the great option. Like his Lord tag might be in question now, so maybe it's time for.
You're trying to think of maybe on the spot.
Yeah, nothing came to me.
Dr. Dalot.
Dr. Dalot. Maybe that could be a move for people. Livermento to Dalot. And not for me yet. For people who don't have some people might not have a keeper.
Especially with Brighton, Sanchez.
Yeah. So De Gea is a good option now with these fixtures. So that's another one to shout. But I think that's about it for United, really. There's not really.
Yeah, I do think I could be drastically wrong, but I do think we'll see a marked improvement from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Oh yeah, you can see already that the team's playing different. There was a stat at the weekend that
Fred was quality that game. I thought
the amount of I've forgotten what they'd call it, but the amount of pressures by the attackers, like the amount of times, do you know what I mean? Attacking pressures or something. It was the most since Ferguson's days. So to create that bigger change in how they press from the front and that pattern of the players being compact, pressing packs and stuff, like you say, and being clever about how players do that. That's already changed in one game. So yeah, I do think they'll be playing better. We'll just have to monitor how
we've just had a comment from a brother.
right.
Let's see if I can show it. He says, "Do you get bonus points for pressing?"
Well, all the teams that score the most goals press. So
I do think it's because the fixtures are so good as well, isn't it, for United? I think if they had average fixtures there, I should probably still be reluctant to go there. But yeah, I think it's just a case of Norwich, Brentford, Brighton, Newcastle, Burnley. Like those fixtures are ridiculous, aren't
they are, and when United were coming up against teams that could press and United couldn't press, we were getting pumped. So yeah, we were getting absolutely annihilated. So yeah, you don't get points for pressing, but you don't get any goals or any you can't keep clean sheets without being able to press properly in the modern game. So yeah.
So this is the final segment around the premium planning. Obviously United, we just talked about top, City as well third. So those are the teams that are popular for a reason. Liverpool and Chelsea are still quite high up. Watford next 4, great. West Ham as well. So these are all popular player picks have now got great fixtures. Even Conor Gallagher, if people still got him. Crystal Palace there in 4th. Arsenal, obviously people got Ramsdale, maybe got one other defender or attacker. So it's funny that the top 9, Tottenham are still there as well, although they've got to play Liverpool. But all the teams that you have, all the players from teams that you have now have good fixtures, don't they? I don't see too many in the bottom 10 that people have players for, other than Rafinha, who are likely to be moved to Bowen for quite a lot of people.
Yeah, no, that's true. Where are Leicester in this? I've just looked at the score from the game because that's on at the moment. Yeah, we're recording this on for people listening back on the podcast. It's a Thursday around 6:30, 7. So yeah, it's 2-2 in the Leicester game. Look, Leicester might as well start games 2-0 down. They just seem to concede 2 every game, no matter what. So they could start to being a team's target for captaincy soon.
Well, they are the 4th bottom here, and they play City and Liverpool in the 4th and 5th game. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I would not be afraid of captaining anyone against Leicester at the moment. Anything else to mention here? I guess the thing I'm looking at here is the fact that Chelsea's fixtures still look quite good. So I'm sat here with Mount, Alonso, and James. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it a couple of weeks before I get rid of any of them, just because the fixtures are still good, and I don't want to be overly reactive to the fact that Chelsea have had this dip. Like they're a team that could easily turn it around. I mean, if it becomes a pattern and they struggle to get out of it, then yeah, I'll have to come off that, because having three Chelsea players while they're struggling, while other teams have the fixtures we've just flagged up, it's not. It'd just be awful team management, that, wouldn't it? So yeah, there's a question of whether I'll get rid of one of them this week anyway. But yeah, Leeds are ravaged by injuries. I think Calvin Phillips is out till.
Yeah, those fixtures. They're in real trouble, aren't they? If they lose those 4 games, which is quite likely.
And Calvin Phillips is out to February, I think, or at least January, something like that.
Yeah.
And they tend to struggle without him running things in midfield or bringing that bite to the midfield. So
if they don't have Rafinha at the moment, he's the kind of the one who's dragging them, isn't he?
Yeah, I just think it could be an awful move for me getting rid of Chelsea players before this Leeds game. So going to try and leave it one more week.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Moving on to captaincy, is it still Perma Salah? Would you say? Obviously, the Ronaldo fixture against Norwich this weekend. If you're gonna captain Ronaldo, any opportunity, this might be the one.
Yeah, I think if you're a risk taker, you're a punt taker, a bit more exciting than us two. It is. I wouldn't put people off doing it. I think I'm still going to go Salah just because he's at home and he's in this ridiculous scoring run.
I think if Norwich didn't have the new manager, it'd be more of a.
Yeah, if it was a Liverpool away game, I'd be more swayed. But Salah at home, it's just hard to ignore.
Stevie G will be opening up his defence for Liverpool as well, won't he?
But Yeah, it's a bit of narrative behind that game, isn't there? What would you say though, if people? Well, actually, people at your rank, is it time for you
Fuck off.
maybe start taking some gambles or what?
I'm actually tempted by Ronaldo this weekend, but the only thing is, if Salah goes and bangs a hat trick, you're screwed, aren't you? It's a
Yeah,
50-50 call for me at the moment.
Yeah, I think the other factor you got to think about is Ronaldo. The points Ronaldo gets for a goal compared to Salah, like it's that midfielder versus striker thing where if Salah gets a goal and some bonus points, you need Ronaldo to score 2 or get a goal and an assist to match. So it's there's that at play as well.
I'm not saying Salah will get dropped because there's no chance he will, but the fact that Ronaldo didn't play midweek as well, like you don't have to worry about him playing.
How annoying is it that Salah played in midweek?
Yeah,
Like,
Salah and Mane. And Klopp will complain about the fixture congestion in a week's time. It's bonkers.
I mean, I think I was listening to a Ben Dinnery stream one day or something, and he was explaining how, like, I think he was talking about Salah, and can't remember if it was Salah or Mane, but he was essentially saying he's heard at some point that certain players, with the way their bodies work and their recovery, like if you don't give them regular minutes, they actually pick up more injuries that way. Like the consistency of playing, the consistency of playing intensely keeps them ticking over, and then when they start having dribs and drabs here and there, that's when they pick up injuries. I'd never heard that before at first, so I'd need to look into it a bit more. But that's the only thing I could possibly think of.
There's an Athletic article similar to that with Sam Lee as well, talking about why Gundogan and Walker played, because he said that they had a rest recently against Villa, and he said if they had another rest, they'd be more susceptible to injury than not, which kind of furthers that point.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it doesn't really make sense to the layman, but in terms of period, I think they call it periodization and whatever in the sports science world. Some players seem to react better to playing regularly. So that, and maybe the fact that Salah's chasing these records, and first English team to have a undefeated record in the Champions League group stages, I think, or to win every game in the group stage or something like that. Whether that was on his mind.
Yeah.
But it's not the first time he could have rested players in a sort of a game that didn't really mean much, and he's chosen not to. So yeah, I do still think Salah plays this one.
Yeah. And I said to you just before we came on air that City's got the best defence by quite a distance, but then Liverpool's attacks best by quite a distance as well compared to their title challenges. So that's definitely going to be the force behind Liverpool's title challenge, isn't it? The attacking numbers.
Yeah. I think hopefully by next week we'll have some clarity on when the AFCON dates are, and we can do a bit more then in the premium planning, like actually look through who we're going to captain when AFCON's on and all that. I think as it stands, it looks like Salah could only miss 2 game weeks.
Yeah, because if it could be that, yeah.
Yeah, so if it's just 2 game weeks, I might just leave Salah on the bench. But if it's more than that, it's probably worth a transfer. But yeah, we'll talk more about that later. Should we get into the transfers we're considering? Or the transfers you've already made, you were saying?
Yeah, I've already done, because I had right on the money, people going up. Vardy and Tony to Ronaldo and King is what I've done. And then, I love a hit, but I don't think I will. Rafinha and Bolt to Bowen might be a hit, but we'll see.
Interesting. Yeah. So who's your third striker?
Antonio.
Okay, that's you've got the three you'd want to. You've got the 3 you'd want to have. So that's a good forward line to have now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of people switching towards, and then obviously you got Salah, Jota, Gundogan probably should have Bernardo. Then Rafinha still in and around there, and obviously the way Chelsea are playing at the moment, Rafinha might not be a bad shout this weekend. You never know.
Yeah, I've had some pain this year taking out Rafinha, and I shouldn't have. So it's something to think about. Who did I get rid of Rafinha? I think I got rid of Rafinha for Foden, and then Rafinha got a goal the next 2 weeks, and Foden blanked the next 2 weeks. So yeah, and then Foden got injured, so I didn't have the best of luck with that move.
Yeah, I'd Foden. He kind of never lived up to it, did he? Yeah,
that reminds me. I've had some like awful timing with players so far this season. So got Chilwell just before he got injured. After I got rid of Rudiger to get him, and Rudiger scored the week I got him, and now Rudiger looks a decent option again. And then I got Reece James, and then after he was on that massive scoring run, he's not scored since. And then what was the other one? Yeah, the one I was just talking about, completely dodging Foden's points and then having him when he got injured. So I've got the.
So don't follow Mindy's transfers this weekend, everyone.
Hopefully that's just a little blip, but it's not happened to me before that. Like 3 or 4 transfers in a row, which have just completely gone the opposite way I wanted them to. So I've been relying on like the players that were already in my team the last few weeks to keep me above water. So I've only got 1 free transfer to use this week after maybe ill-advisedly bringing in Alonso with my 2 free transfers last week.
Who are you thinking?
I'm definitely looking at a hit because I can't really. Yeah, it's just whether I bring in Ronaldo and Bernardo or maybe avoid Ronaldo for a bit with what I was saying before because I'm not going to captain him in the next 2 at least. Maybe go King and try and get a power 5 in midfield. If I bring King in for Kane, I can then bring in Bernardo for like Billy Gilmore. So yeah, I don't know. It's something I'm weighing up. I think I'll be thinking about that right up until the deadline. Because it's something that's always been in the back of my mind with bringing in a player that costs 12 million around that mark, and you're not going to captain them. It's just that thing. Like, is it the best use of funds? Like, points per million, etc. Would I be better off having Bowen, Bernardo, Gundogan, Jota, all those in midfield, and then just having because the reason I went for Kane originally when everyone was sending Kane and Son was to then get the easy move to Ronaldo. But now that I'm looking at it, we were just talked about the lack of striking options. Like, say, for example, you want to come off Ronaldo at some point, or he picks up a knock. Like, Lukaku's not really shown it so far in the Premier League, apart from a couple of games. And they've been very careful with bringing him back from injury. You don't really want to go to Vardy because Leicester seem to be in and out of form, shipping goals.
That's when you go back to Kane.
So yeah, I just don't know if I want an asset, a 12 million striking asset there. But yeah,
I'll talk to you next week when you brought Ronaldo in all this deliberation. Why are you trying to tease us?
Well, so do you think? Do you think who's going to get more points, like Ronaldo and, like, say, for example, Bowen, or maybe having the midfield with 2 City midfielders and then Bowen, Jota, Salah? Like, you've got a whole midfield there of massive goal scoring options.
Yeah, it's an argument, isn't it? It's a decision people have got to make.
I think the fact that everybody's going Ronaldo and the fact that you see in everyone bringing him in makes it hard to avoid it, doesn't it? But it's like it's one of those head versus heart things. Like, my gut is saying I should maybe look elsewhere for a bit, and then I can as long as his price doesn't completely go through the roof over the next couple, then I could maybe get him in around.
To be fair, this period's going to be the test, isn't it? But those who haven't had Ronaldo so far, they're kind of the teams that do better. Like, I know my brother's not had Ronaldo, for example, and he's storming the league. So yeah, maybe we are getting too swayed by the romantic of having Ronaldo.
Because do you remember when we both? I think I took a hit to get Ronaldo, and you.
Yeah, I had him. Yeah. I played my wild card to get him. Yeah.
And there was lots of other managers who didn't go for him during that time.
And they've kind of come out better, yeah.
And they're still, even the weeks when, because I think a lot of people stuck with Lukaku, didn't they? And Lukaku scored 2 against Villa that week. So I think sometimes you can get tunnel vision about certain players just because everyone's getting them and the fixtures are great. But if not having them means you've got more good assets in other positions, it's like a trade-off, isn't it? So yeah, it's something to think about. But as you say, I'm probably too much of a wet sponge to actually go through with it. We'll see.
It's an exciting game week, isn't it? Obviously, look at the sea of blue there for the good team. So I do think Christmas is going to be good to most players. It's just who's going to get the more points. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, and hopefully gets lots of bonus points from our players for how much pressing they do this weekend. That'd be good.
Yeah, you forgot if you get Ronaldo and you get an extra bonus point.
Just to be clear for anyone listening, there's no points for pressing. I reckon some managers probably have that in the changing room though. Like the German ones, especially, they probably have like a little players who did the most pressing probably get a golden star afterwards.
Yeah.
Anything else before we wrap up?
No. Yeah, should be an exciting game week. It's a Friday deadline. Sorry.
Oh my god,
I'm joking.
You did that well. It almost seemed like you just slipped into being a little idiot again.
Just wanted to see your face. All right. Yeah. Have a good week, everyone, and we'll see you.
Yeah. Have a good week. And yeah, strap in for Christmas.
Right. Strap on. All right. See you.
Strap in.